Damn, what a great looking game. The environments look spectacular, allowing me to get immersed into this fantastical world. Before I knew it, I was addicted, itching to get home and play it, planning my days out to have enough time once the night came. The game just feels solid in all aspects. Everything feels polished and high quality. Honestly, what Resident Evil game hasn't been like that? Village is no exception. It did not take long for me to find myself all in on the experience. Whether it was me exploring around in awe of the details in the environments, or muttering, oh crap, 50 times as I grip my controller, running away from some scary situation. I enjoyed experiencing the different flavors of horror throughout the game. While there was a lot of variety to the style and tone, it all felt tied together to this fantastical world, this odd, isolated village. I'm glad that Resident Evil finally feels like it's in a pretty good place, or at the very least, in a better direction. I personally think Village has the scariest section in any RE game, so it's really cool to see the franchise expanding and hitting new highs while still being rooted in horror.
Worthless invalid, a stupid, wailing bitch.
They did a great job making the player feel like they were in a fairy tale. It's so much more than just the introductory cinematic. It's the structure of the story, how it unfolds, the touches of the bizarre and the outlandish mixed with the realism. It starts off grounded in reality, then instantly it's shattered and you are thrust into this strange new world, walking straight into the mouth of the beast, ending up in a twisted fairy tale.
Where the hell am I?
It feels like I stepped back into the past, into a time where myths and legends were born. Vampires, castles, werewolves. It's strange for a Resident Evil game, but the feeling of being in an alternate world let me suspend my expectations and just enjoy the game for what it was. I like how isolated it feels at the start. The ambient sounds, loud and heavy, dark and dreary. Nothing but the evidence of the recent occupants of the village, with everything thrashed about in ruin. You know something's not right. Something ominous awaits. But you don't know what it is or when it will strike. But when it finally does, it's pretty brutal and gory. That's something that's cool with these new modern installments. They do not hold back on the gore. Long gone are the days of the low-bit sound effects with pixelated blood. In Village, flesh and bone are chewed up. Limbs are cut off. The blood pours. It's extreme, and they don't hold back. I enjoyed the start of the game, wandering around this eerie ghost town, then in the midst of confusion, they turned it up to 11. I had no idea what the hell was going on, and then I'm getting attacked and chased by menacing, powerful werewolves. There was so much chaos in the intro, mixed with a sense of panic with no real clear direction of where to go. It reminded me of the RE4 intro, but amped up and evolved. Werewolves carrying weapons, riding horses, flame arrows flying through the sky, giant monster hammer guy. I had so many questions, but no time to think, just running around for my life. Were these the villagers? Do they turn into werewolves at night? What the hell is going on? The off-putting religious imagery around the houses really tied the village together. It gave me an eerie sense that the entire community is part of some religious cult. In horror movies, outsiders don't fare well in these situations. It reminded me of this bad movie I really like, called Dagon, based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. They both have this weird, dreamy, surreal feeling, where an outsider stumbles into a town that feels deserted. It makes you feel lost. Weird inhabitants reverent of some strange religious figure. It feels like a nightmare.
Wait here. I'll check on the others.
It was nice to finally make it to the castle, with the interior giving a sense of familiarity that old Resident Evil fans have been longing for. It felt good to walk around a big, luxurious, creepy house, with puzzles and horror scattered around every corner. The vampires provided a steady state of fear and horror. I constantly felt like I needed to get the hell out of there, and was always in danger. The villains in the game are extremely sadistic. They treat you like you're a toy, immediately going to extreme torture with no remorse. It's off-putting. That, mixed with the spaced out save points throughout the linearly designed areas, added to the fear and anxiety. Lady D and her daughters felt dangerous. I was scared of them finding me. Knowing I hadn't saved in a while, I was always scared I would run into one of them and get killed in an instant. I do wish the mansion section, or castle I should say, was longer. I think the duration of Lady D and her daughters chasing you was fine, but after they were dealt with, I wish there was more to the mansion. Castle. I'm not a fan of a tyrant character always chasing you. I know it's a staple of RE2 Scenario B and RE3, but I think it's been overplayed and it's a very cheap way to create horror. It gets annoying pretty quickly. It was fun in the RE2 remake at first, but yeah, give it a rest and leave it as a trademark of RE2 remake. While the constant anxiety and initial jump scare of Lady D popping up is high, I think in the big picture, the trade-off isn't worth it. You get cheap thrills at the expense of a deeper experience with exploration, backstory, and puzzles. Between the combination of the Mr. X clone chasing you and the linearly designed sections, we really don't get a chance to take in the castle and explore rooms that are outside of the linear paths. There was a tiny amount of backstory and lore in a few notes I came across, and I took all that in and appreciated it, but I wish there was more of that. The notes left behind by servants painted a terrifying picture and added weight to the dreadful atmosphere of the catacombs. It added to the cruel nature of the villainous vampires and the horrifying fate of servants working at the castle. It's a shame there's so little of it. After dealing with Lady D, I would have loved to have more of the castle to explore in a classic RE style, with puzzles, more rooms containing items expanding on the backstory of the castle's history, the workers' living quarters with diaries, just more detailed backstory unfolding through the exploration of the castle. Without all that, the castle just felt empty, like a set piece, like a haunted house ride rather than a castle with history where actual people recently lived and worked. All that said, I still really enjoyed what was there. There were moments of absolute terror, as I got scared and tried running for my life, trying to figure out what to do while trapped in an area with the vampire sisters. Dracula is one of my favorite books, and as I progressed through the castle, it began to remind me of the imagery the book created in my mind while reading it years ago, which was a really cool experience. I love that. While it's completely foreign and strange to be in a Resident Evil game, I just loved the way the castle felt with the vampires towards the end. I really felt like I was in some faraway, strange place, living in a legend you read about in books like Dracula, of remote castles and vampires. It is completely different from the Western zombie movies the original franchise was based on, but pure, classical, timeless horror nonetheless. Jesus Christ. This was hands down the scariest section of any RE game. I had no idea what the hell I was getting myself into. I never expected this type of content in an RE game. The spirit of this entire section was not Resident Evil at all, but I still think it was the best horror in the game. It was straight up the heart of a Silent Hill game, slipped into the skin of a Resident Evil game. The way they created tension from anticipation through foreshadowing, it was perfect. I loved it so much and it scared the crap out of me. I had to catch my breath and force myself to keep moving forward a couple of times. That's real horror. Not jump scares, but actually affecting your brain to the point where it tells you no, going that way, that's not a good idea. I don't want to go down that hallway. You know the horror is coming, and there's nothing you can do to stop it or avoid it. And not only that, you're going to have to walk into it, straight at it in the dark. The writing is on the wall. It's not a startling jump scare. All the information is there for your brain to take in and connect the dots that you're going to experience something horrifying, and you have no control over it. Right from the start, the entire basement had an eerie feeling. The hallways were so damn narrow and long, it felt like the PT demo. That, mixed with the shallow depth of field, made the entire basement feel so claustrophobic. It had me paranoid that something was going to happen. When the lights finally shut off and went red, I had so much internal turmoil not to go down that damn dark hallway, but I had no choice. I started mentally going over the floor layout, drawing out paths to hiding places I could take when a monster inevitably starts chasing me from the dark unknown. I crouched and took baby steps following the bloody umbilical cord. I felt so much dread and anxiety as I slowly crept. Just a drawer at the end of the first hallway scared me. When I finally seen some big silhouette emerge out of the dark, I noped so damn hard and ran away to the closest locker. I don't think it came out on my live playthrough, but on my screen, I saw this thing emerge from the dark. It scared the shit out of me. It was perfect. The bizarre and eerie nature of an infant crying for its dad, this big, grotesque, bloody baby chasing you, the game conditioning your brain to expect danger, then force you to go down that dark path, it was premium psychological horror. While it didn't resemble or feel like Resident Evil at all, I loved every bit of it. Dare I say, the best Silent Hill in 20 years? When it was finally over, I felt such a relief. It was an experience. And after that, I felt like nothing could scare me. The usual horror of Resident Evil, enemies attacking me, felt like child's play after that. The Dr. Moreau section was such a nice change of pace after the emotional roller coaster of the dollhouse. It did feel a bit like it was mirroring the RE4 boat section, but it was well done and enjoyable nonetheless. I liked how the story gets fleshed out through the notes you find with each of these lords, slowly peeling back the curtain on what is happening.
Is that alive?
With my newfound courage, I was slaying through the Lycans like it was an action game. There was a definite change in style and tone. The Moreau and the Lycan lair section felt like I was playing in the RE4 and RE5 era of Resident Evil. The giant axe-wielding troll thing and the King Lycan at the end of the lair felt straight out of RE5. I really enjoyed blasting through the Lycan lair. It was a cool environment, and it was really fun being able to use items that were untouched in my inventory up to that point. Seeing the Lycan swing around and attack in groups was really cool as well. For as much as I did not like the steampunk guy, that's his name from now on, by the way, I thought his area was the second best part of the game. I loved the art design. The grimy, dark, retro, yet futuristic mad scientist style was cool. His demented experiments were giving me impressions of Xenobites from Hellraiser and the Borg from Star Trek. The game design was fantastic in the entire section as well, introducing new mechanics and a variety of enemy types with different ways to handle each of them. I loved that the Soldads could break through walls. Like, I really like that. It's such a simple concept that isn't used enough. It's so powerful in making the player feel vulnerable. When Jack breaks through walls in RE7, it's so damn scary and effective. The boss fight was so stupid. I don't really have anything else to say besides that. Really, it's everything I don't like about what Capcom tries to morph Resident Evil into. Now that I'm looking back, maybe that was like the Resident Evil 6 moment in the game? I don't know. The entire thing was dumb. The setup made no sense. He just happens to have a tank that could kill him with infinite ammo? And he turns into some giant dinosaur-sized robot thing? What? I don't have much to say for the rest of the game. It's not really in the style that I like Resident Evil, but I guess that's the direction Capcom has taken the original characters. Chris is some Spec Ops Navy SEAL Master Soldier now, I guess, so it plays like a Call of Duty mission. It was neat being able to revisit the village in a different style and just mow enemies down. I wish there was more of that, like a more linear path through other sections we've already beat. The boss fight felt kind of confusing, yet simple at the same time. I think they could have designed a better boss battle in terms of game design. It just felt like I was shooting a bullet sponge. I didn't really get an idea of what I was supposed to be aiming at, or any patterns besides just like evading and shooting until she dies. Besides the Soldats, everything in this game felt pretty spongy, and like it lacked clear design on weak points. I know having big obvious spots like big eyes is cliche in game design, but it works. I like the art design of Mother Miranda at the end, and the sacrificial angle. To be honest, I thought it was going to be like some type of sacrificial / vessel ceremony for like a demon god, like more along the lines of Silent Hill. The car crash at the start, searching for your missing daughter, the religious symbolism, a weird witch lady, rituals and ceremonies, the entire dollhouse section. I was fully expecting the ending to be more in line with Silent Hill. I was actually shocked how much the basic setup resembled Silent Hill. I mean, even the DLC is like Silent Hill 3, playing as a daughter grown up. I am looking forward to what they can build off of and create with this mold concept. Not so much the origin. I think they need to keep that mysterious and vague, so they can be free to keep creating freely out of it. The concept of it being some type of bridge through history could bring some cool ideas to the franchise. Bigger than some stupid Matrix Wesker villain or some evil world domination crap that was taken way further than it ever should have been. It's just so annoying that everything Resident Evil now has to come back to a character that actually died in the first game, but then they brought him back as like some evil Neo from the Matrix, superhuman invincible guy, or it has to be tied into like the cliche evil corporation that's taken over the world. Like, that's not the entirety of Resident Evil. Just because some of those story threads were there in the first game with Umbrella doesn't mean that like every single installment and every single story going forward for the next decade or 2 decades has to be the exact same trope at the end of the game. I'd like to see more on individual characters and how their individual situations cause them to interact with the mold, how they use the mold or how it affects them. I'd like for them to explore more on if it has some type of agency or if it's just a neutral thing to be used by people as they wish. I really hope they don't just strip it back down to the T-Virus with another name. This feels like a great foundation for a new direction of the franchise, for creative freedom.
What are you talking about? The fuck is wrong with you?
I think as time goes on, this game will feel more like a unique installment in the series, much like Link's Awakening is to the Zelda franchise. Great game, while feeling different enough to be separate from the main installments. I personally would have liked it if they didn't have Chris in the game. I don't think the Chris stuff ruined it or anything. I just think it's time for them to separate away from the original game's storyline and characters. It's just unnecessary to keep trying to stretch that original RE plot over the new installments 2 decades later. I like the new life and creativity these new modern RE games have brought to the franchise. It's allowed them to grow and expand the franchise while still feeling like genuine horror games. Overall, I think Village is great. Even if it is a bit odd and feels more like a spin-off, it almost feels like a practice run before they make the next real installment. Game design-wise, the game feels very segmented. It's like each section is meant to reflect or recreate styles of RE4, RE5, and RE6. It kind of felt like a gift to fans, like small little homages to past games in the franchise, all mixed into one package. I think it was successful and enjoyable. I really liked the hub world, where I was able to explore further and find treasure as you progress through the game. The gunplay felt solid, the menus felt clean and intuitive. I think it was a very well crafted game. I'd gladly recommend Village to anyone that likes action horror games. It's well polished, scary, and a fun ride with lots of variety.